Hello there, kia ora. Did you know that the New Zealand Royal Commission, looking into the governmental response to the COVID-19 pandemic at its height, is in need of your help? You see, they're currently extending their terms of reference, and that's because when the National Party signed coalition agreements with ACT and New Zealand First, parties that completely coincidentally seemed to draw in people who loved conspiracy theories around COVID 19, total coincidence, I'm sure, they demanded changes to the terms of reference for this particular inquiry. So, as part of that process, the inquiry is called for public submissions, where they want to hear people's stories about what happened during the pandemic. Good stories, bad stories, all of them count. They want to know how people were impacted because this gives them a chance to be able to see how to guide this particular inquiry and what sort of outcomes they need to be looking towards to make sure that next time we get hit by a pandemic, the governmental response is actually influenced by decisions made in the past and whether or not they worked for people. But there's one particular group of tradwife loving, conspiracy theory pushing, neo Nazi flirting bigots who like to put out mis and disinformation to be able to grift people into giving them money, who are really, really keen on making sure that they flood the zone with this particular inquiry. And that's Voices for Freedom. On Sunday, they actually ran full page advertisements in the Sunday Star Times with highly emotive images of an old guy sitting alone in a hospital bed asking how many people you knew who unalived during the height of pandemic lockdowns. They've also been sending content out to their mailing lists and putting stuff up on their social media platforms, encouraging people to go to their COVID 19 inquiry page to get things like templates and coaching and what to say to this particular inquiry. And because this inquiry's scope is supposed to be informal, it means that there's not going to be many sit down in a room with a bunch of people kind of moments that happen with it. And well, that doesn't really suit an organization like Voices for Freedom, who are seeing this as a way to revive their flagging numbers. Their online interactions, for example, and engagements have been on a steady decline for the last couple of years, as the issues of the pandemic aren't quite so front and center in the public's perception. For good or bad, that outcome means that Voices for Freedom have to push a lot harder to try and get to the same people that they did before. And this inquiry gives them that perfect opportunity to do this by making so much noise about the terms of reference, by bringing in their own terribly debunked, already awful people to have their say, getting pseudoscience pushed and mis and disinformation out there in front of this inquiry. They can create a whole bunch of content they can sell on and start to use to grift on other people while pushing their narrative still that the response was the worst thing on the planet and it was tantamount to tyranny, despite what international experts would have you say. But that doesn't matter to them. So, what we need to do is make sure that people in this inquiry are actually getting their stories across in a legitimate way. I'm going to leave a link in my bio, but it's pretty simple to find. You just go to covid19lessons.royalcommission.nz if you want to have your say, and it'll step you through on what you say. They've got two really simple questions. You don't even have to answer both of them. You can give more information later if you want to, but the important thing is that you have your say so the Commission can do its job. Because while our COVID 19 response was not perfect, it's nowhere near as terribly tyrannical as an organization spending money like Voices for Freedom would have you believe. Because if they don't spend the money now, they can't recoup the cost later from those gullible idiots who fell for it the first time they started making noise.